Groups, welcome to this study for week beginning Monday, the 9th of December. Yesterday we looked at the story of Simeon and we looked at how Jesus coming fulfilled the promise of the coming Messiah. We looked at how the story shows us that the promise of comfort was fulfilled, the promise of rejection was fulfilled, and the promise of crucifixion was fulfilled. So the passage is Luke chapter 2, verse 22 to 35, and you might want to pause me now and read through those scriptures together. So the promise of comfort fulfilled, and we saw how Simeon may well have been studying the book of Isaiah, and Isaiah 40 to 66 is often called the book of comfort. And it says this in Isaiah 40 verse 1 to 2, "Comfort, comfort my people, says your God. Speak tenderly to Jerusalem and proclaim to her that her hard service has been completed, that her sin has been paid for, that she has received from the Lord's hand double for all her sins." And we saw how Simeon in Luke 2 verse 25 was waiting for the consolation of Israel. That's the comfort of Israel, to be consoled, if you like, and the Holy Spirit was on him. And so we saw that Jesus coming was the fulfillment of the promise of comfort being fulfilled. And this comfort kind of wasn't kind of there, hope you're okay. It was the comfort of dealing with the issue of our sin, that her sin in Isaiah 40 has been paid for. And so Christ came as the comforter to pay for the sins of not just Israel, but us as Gentiles too. So the promise of comfort fulfilled. Then also the promise of rejection fulfilled. We saw Psalm 118 verse 22, which says, "The stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone." Jesus also quotes this psalm about himself. And we saw how Simeon prophesies to Mary and Joseph that Jesus will be a sign that will be spoken against. So he's a sign, he's one sent from heaven, but he will be spoken against. He will suffer this rejection. And so Jesus is fulfilling that promise that the Messiah, the chosen one, will be rejected. And then thirdly, the promise of crucifixion fulfilled. We looked at these core texts, Psalm 22 verse 16, "They pierced my hands and my feet." Isaiah 53 verse 5, "He was pierced for our transgressions and crushed for our iniquities." And Genesis 3:15, "He will crush your head and you will strike his heel." And we saw how Simeon prophesied over Mary that a sword will pierce your own soul too, alluding to the suffering she would witness her son Jesus go through, and ultimately her seeing her son Jesus upon the cross. And so fulfilling the promise that the Messiah will bring about our salvation through suffering, specifically crucifixion. So those promises fulfilled, but how does that apply to you and me today? Well, we can be like Simeon in Luke 2 verse 29, "You may now dismiss your servant in peace." We can face our own mortality with peace because we know that Christ had dealt with our sin and death is the doorway to eternity with him. And also we can be like Simeon by knowing the Holy Spirit upon us, by receiving revelation from the Holy Spirit, and by being moved by the Spirit, we can be people of his presence. So a few questions for you. Number one, how do you like to celebrate Christmas? Maybe think specifically about how do you remember the real reason for the season amongst all the chaos and consumerism. And that's a more gentle question to help us lead into the next intense one. How do you feel about your own mortality and why? And then maybe have some time to pray for the Holy Spirit to be on you, to reveal Christ to you and to move you into places where he wants you to be. Hope that's been helpful for you. God bless.